What's up, you guys? Today's podcast episode is really exciting. I had my husband on as a co-host for this podcast, and we had a lot of technical difficulties. So I am finally getting this all put together, and I really hope that you guys get a lot of value out of this. I just wanted to let you know that this is not the normal format because we were trying out some new equipment and seeing how it worked. So I hope that you guys really enjoy this. Let's go. So, welcome back to the Brave Mama Blueprint podcast. This week, my husband is joining me to talk about today's topic. Last week, I talked about eliminating things that drain your energy. So if you missed that episode, just go back to episode 1 on the podcast channel, or I also upload these to YouTube. So, Cody, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Robert.
You promised you wouldn't do that. Oh my gosh. If you've missed my introduction in the past, my name is Leslie. This is my husband, Cody. And today's topic, we're going to talk about casting a vision for your life. So, let's get started. To start with, I'd kind of like to talk about casting a vision and why I feel like that's important. And Cody, chime in whenever. I feel like most people don't do this. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think people want to get somewhere, but they're not specific enough about where they want to go, and then they wonder why they can't get there.
Yeah, like most people that I know are like, yeah, and I want to live in this type of house or drive this type of car, but that's all that they ever do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I like to compare casting a vision to actually creating a roadmap for yourself. So if you don't have a map, you don't know where you're going to go. I think that it's really important that you are really intentional with that. So if I'm casting a vision for my life, the first step that I'm going to take is write down where I want to be 5 years from now. So how would you do that, Cody?
Why are you putting me on the spot?
How would you? Because you've done it before.
I mean, I would probably just write down like your ideal life, where you want to be. Because, I mean, in 5 years, you can pretty much accomplish anything you want to. So, just write down everything that you want to accomplish in 5 years and where you want to be and get really specific with it. And, make that your 5-year goal. And then you've got to break that down into smaller timelines, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say about this specific part, because I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, like they get a general idea of this is kind of where I want to go and where I want to be 5 years from now, but it's very general and it's not super specific. So what would being super specific look like for you?
For me, it would be, I want a $500,000 house in South Florida. I want a 23-foot boat. And I want to have a thriving fitness coaching business, making at least $30,000 a month. And yeah, have the freedom to do whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want.
Yeah, but I knew you were going to say that as soon as I said be really specific. Like, what would that look like for you? I think that, like, you have to write down, like, literally the type of house that you want, how much it's going to cost you, the type of vehicles you want to drive, the kind of relationship. That's been a big one for me, is I've written down what kind of relationships I want to have, like marriage relationship, friendships, community, because, like, people don't think about that, and who you surround yourself with is really important.
I'm in that, right?
In what?
The group of people you want a relationship with.
Yeah. I mean, you made the cut. You're welcome.
I mean, I've been around for like 14 years, so you might as well keep me at this point.
Yeah, I figured. Might as well. We've put so much work in. Why throw that away? Yeah, so you write that down and be really specific about that. and then reverse engineer it. So I don't know if I reverse engineer things the same way that you do. How would you do that?
I just break it into smaller goals. So like the first goal for me would be getting that $500,000 house in South Florida. So in order for me to afford that, I need to know how much I need to make monthly.
Yeah.
So then that would be my first goal. Like, how do I get my business to the point where I'm making X amount a month?
Yeah. Yeah, that's very similar. I always look at, like, you know, for me with the type of house that I want and try to find a house that's similar, figure out how much it costs, what the monthly payment would be, how much money I need to make a month in order to afford that, the type of relationship. With relationships, I always look at, like, what type of people do you want to be around and what type of friendships do you want to have, and then focus on becoming the type of person that would add value to that and would not be worthy of, but, you know, like, kind of be on the same level. Because, like, if you want friends that are millionaires and you're unemployed, like, you need to get to that level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's also like to reach any goals that are higher, more hard to attain, you have to not just ask how, but ask how, like, who do you need to become to have that lifestyle? Because you're not going to be the same person.
Yeah, that's a really good one. I didn't think about that. Yes. Who do you need to become in order to have that lifestyle? So yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good overview of, so when you're looking at long-term, like 5 to 10 year goals, how you sit down and just let your imagination go wild, because a lot of times we haven't practiced that before. And so, like, it kind of takes some work to actually get your brain into that headspace where you're like, okay, I'm thinking big here. I'm dreaming about what the possibilities. And then the next step for me, I know that people break this down differently, but for me, I always do a 6-month letter to myself. So it's like a letter, either from myself 6 months from now, saying what I've accomplished, how different I am, and where I want to be, or it's just like, you know, bullet points kind of. So what's your next step? Like, how do you usually break it down?
How do I break down what?
Like, to go from 5-year goals, I know that you said you reverse engineer it, but, like, I usually go from 5-year to 6 month. So do you do another step in there, or is that just me?
No, I pretty much go straight to, like, monthly.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't even do a 6 month. I do like a monthly, and then from there I break it down to daily, like what I need to be doing every day.
Huh. Yeah, because I like to do a letter to myself in 6 months, but 6 months is still, that's half a year. And so I feel like it still seems really far away and it's hard to connect to. For me, it's hard to connect to. So I'll do the 6 months and then I write down 30-day goals. And, like, if I want to do in the next 30 days, 20 workouts, 20 whatever, you know, this many days a week, accomplish this, and really, like, small tasks, daily tasks to accomplish those. That's how I usually do that.
Yeah, I don't get as analytical about it, I guess. I just break it down to, like, I know what I need to be making to be able to move, if that's your goal.
Yeah.
And I break it down to daily, and then I just make a list, like, every day I need to do this, this, and this. And that will get me to my 5-year goal. So it makes it simpler for me, just breaking it down into daily actions, because I'm stupid. I can't think 6 months ahead.
First of all, no, you are not stupid. don't even start that. I do the 30-day goals, and then you and I are very different in this. I need small, very doable daily actions that I can implement to, like, become habits and routines, but I need small steps at a time. And you're kind of like dive in, huge changes all at once. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I don't like sticking my toes in the water. I just jump in.
Which is, it's funny because like I feel like both methods work. It's just you tend to be a all or nothing type person, and I need to slowly build up the habits to make it sustainable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
And it's everybody will have a different process how they do it, but the important thing is that you're casting a vision for what you want in the future.
Yeah. So in the process of casting that vision, setting the goals and everything, how do you feel like failure actually benefits you?
Well, if you're smart enough to not make the same mistake twice and just fail as fast as possible, you learn all the ways that it's not working and make iterations to whatever your process is as quickly as possible, and just don't make the same mistake twice, and you're going to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
I've kind of trained myself now, like I don't really think there is such a thing as failure. I think there are lessons. And as long as you pull a lesson out of that failure every time, you really are not failing. Unless you give up, then you're a failure.
Right. That's interesting because we just have a little bit different perspective. That's why I enjoy talking about this stuff with you, because I feel like failing is a sign that I'm doing the actions. Like if I'm failing at it and I'm continuing to go, even if, like, say I set a goal for in the next 30 days to do 20 workouts and I only do 10, I'm further ahead than I was when I started. So I failed at that goal, but I moved forward. So it's like a sign that you're working to move the needle.
Yeah, you're in the arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's the end of my notes on this episode. So as far as, is there anything else that you would say is important when you're casting that vision for your life?
I think it's important to like be around whatever your goals are. So like if your goal is to get more fit, you need to be around people that are fit. If you like, my goal is to move to South Florida. I spend as much time in South Florida as I can. I mean, the fucking background of my Zoom call is the beach.
Yeah, right.
So,
Florida vibes. Yeah.
Because you need to elevate your frequency to be able to, you know, hit your goals and be that person that lives in South Florida for myself.
The environment that you put yourself in is like, people vastly undervalue and underestimate how important that is.
Yeah, definitely. Because I believe that the frequency that you run on is what you frequently see. So the more you can put yourself into an environment that you want to be your reality, the more your brain starts seeing, oh, I belong here, and things will start happening. You'll kind of draw the change to you.
Yeah, I like that perspective. I always feel like the changing your environment as much as possible, and like, okay, so currently, like, our house that we live in isn't our ideal home at all. Like, I'm grateful for it, but I feel like working to improve your current environment as much as possible helps with that, because it helps put you in that mindset that you are capable of better things and you deserve better things. Because if you're staying in the same crappy environment and you're not working to improve it, then your brain gets comfortable in that and you feel like that's all that you're capable of. So like, proving to yourself that you are capable of more, I feel like that also really helps.
Yeah, and they say you're the sum total of the 5 people you hang around and spend the most time with.
Yes.
But it's the same with your environment. Like if you can get around nice cars and nice houses and just see that there is another way of living besides, you know, how we've lived for our entire marriage is basically, you know, poverty level or just slightly above.
Right.
And being able to see the better lifestyle, and that it's very possible. You just have to develop the skills to get yourself there.
Yeah. Well, and putting the effort into finding ways to spend time in that environment where, so that you can actually picture yourself there. Because like, if your brain can picture yourself in that, like, that's always been huge for me. If I can't actually like physically picture myself doing the thing, then I'm probably not going to do it. But if you can do something to immerse yourself in that, even if it's just for a short amount of time, then it helps you change your whole way of thinking to like, oh yeah, I totally could do this. Like this is something I can see myself in this car because like I went and test drove one, or I could see myself living in this type of house because I went and rented one, or like, how would you relate that to income? Like how do you elevate your frequency, I guess, when it comes to that?
I think it's just being in the same room with people that are at that income and seeing what their lifestyle is about. And like, not everybody has access to people like that, but at the same time, everybody has access to people like that.
Yeah.
There are books that were written by highly successful people. Most of them have like Facebook or Instagram accounts that you can follow and kind of not really live vicariously through them, but you can get a taste for like their lifestyle by following them closer and kind of getting a taste of what their day to day is like.
Yeah, you can almost get a virtual mentor from anyone online. Like you can find somebody that's at that level and then just follow them, read everything they write, watch every like podcast, YouTube, whatever, and like just have them be in their circle in that way.
Yeah, and if you're wanting to elevate your financial income to a higher level by starting a business like I am with fitness coaching, there are mentorship programs everywhere. So like every day I'm part of a group of people. I paid to be in this mastermind group, and I get to talk with people that are making $50,000 a month all the way up to $300,000 a month every day. So it kind of makes you feel like you have to step your game up to be in the same room, and it's kind of like being helped up the ladder. Like there's people in the same room that are ahead of you that are kind of pulling you along with them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's really helpful. I'm sorry, I just like zoned out and had a major ADHD moment, and my brain went on so many tangents, and I'm having a really hard time like getting focused again. Casting a vision. Why it's good to get in the same room. The people you surround yourself with. Yes, I think that's super important, and it's really overlooked. And I know I talked on the last episode about eliminating the people, the relationships, and all the things that are like draining to you. I think it's the same thing. If you find yourself around people who put you into a scarcity mindset, or who don't encourage you to improve yourselves, to really reevaluate those relationships, and if they are worth, if it's worth the relationship to be continually dragged down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you mean like cutting certain people out if they're constantly bringing you down or draining your energy?
Yeah, like reevaluating and saying, do I really want this person in my life influencing you? Because everybody that you might say, oh, well, I can be a good influence on them, but honestly, probably not. Like genuinely, most of the time I found that like people who are dragging you down when you're around them, and you probably aren't going to influence them. Like they're going to influence you.
Yeah, and you can still have people that are in your life. You just, shorten your time around them. You don't have to spend all of your time with your toxic aunt or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you build your own tribe, and you have to make sure that the people in your tribe are there to help you grow, and also you're helping them do it. Can't just be a one way. That's why you can't just approach a millionaire and like, hey, can you mentor me for free? Like if you're not bringing anything to the table,
you mutually
they're not
add
going to
value.
be interested at all.
Yeah, make sure that you're like both adding value to that relationship. I think that like that Bible verse, iron sharpens iron. Like if you both aren't challenging each other to improve. I think that we do that really well. Like we're constantly kind of at each other in different areas. Like sometimes it's not pleasant, but I feel like we're really good at it, like making sure that we're both trying to constantly improve different areas.
Yeah, because like I'm broke and I'm, in the same room with these millionaires every day, in the mastermind that I'm a part of. And I still bring value. Like I'm not rich, but I still bring value by helping people work through the issues they're having, or, I might be an inspiration to somebody that didn't have the drive the week before to get their work done every day. But
Right.
I was there grinding out and getting, all of my outreach done and posting good, valuable content on my page.
You're putting the
And
work in and you're showing up daily and you're doing whatever you can to be a valuable member of the team. Yeah.
yeah, so it's not just a take relationship. If you want to get around people that can elevate you, you need to bring something to the table.
Right. Yeah. I like that. Let me think. I think we've covered all the topics and pretty, you know what I'm saying, right? We done good. I feel like we've talked about casting a vision and changing your environment pretty well. Is there anything else that you would add to casting a vision and why it's important?
No, I can't really think of anything else to add except dream boards have been really handy for me when it comes to casting a vision. Like the background on my phone is all pictures of things that I want and things that I want my life to look like 5 years from now.
Yeah, I always forget about that one because I've gotten to the point where like I write things so much and that's what really helps me get in focus. But I heard this somewhere one time, and the number of times that you look at your phone every day, I mean, it's enormous. And if you set the background of your phone to those like visual reminders of those goals, it's like a constantly putting that into your brain so that you're like constantly looking for those ways to get those things. It's always at the front of your brain. I found that really helpful. My phone background is almost always a dream board of some sort.
Yep. And then you can even go as far as like, I bought a knockoff Rolex for like, what was it, $10 or something. And, one day I would like to have the $30,000 version of that watch.
Right.
And I wear it all the time just to remind me like, yeah, you have a cheap watch now, but soon you're going to have the $30,000 version of this watch.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's also really good. And I know this is a little like for me, I have a lot of horse related goals, so I try not to tie that into everything, but it is like such a big part of who I am. So like I bought a really nice horse on a budget, but I am constantly visualizing achieving the goals that I want to with that horse. So I think like visualizing the win and visualizing actually accomplishing the things, not just writing them down, but and having them in front of you every day, but like what you're doing with having that, imitation Rolex on your arm, like you're able to visualize yourself living in that. And I think that is also really helpful when you're trying to not just cast the vision, but make it a reality.
Something else that can really help too is setting reminders on your phone. So every morning at 8 a.m., I get a reminder on my phone that tells me to ask better questions of myself. Because that's how thinking works. Like it's the process of the questions you ask yourself and your brain finds an answer to whatever that question is. So if I'm, up at 8 or whatever, even before, and I'm not feeling like going and doing a workout that day or doing the work that I need to do, I get that reminder to ask better questions of myself. And I immediately start saying, well, would a highly successful fitness coach have a donut for breakfast? Would a highly successful fitness coach skip the gym just because he felt a little tired?
Right.
And
that's really good.
Start answering like the person you want to be in 5 years.
That's really smart. I've done that. don't even think about it sometimes. Like, it's like, okay, with this version, I have this like vision in my head. I don't know how else to explain it, but there's one day it just hit me. I was like, this is the person I want to be. And it was like very clear and specific. And I noticed that at almost any given time, like depending on what's going on, but most of the time I've learned to just, I'll stop and think about that person and like put myself into that state of like, this is what it feels like. This is how I behave. This is who I am now. And you just like flip the switch from whatever you were before to like behaving like that person. It's taken a lot of time and practice to get to that point where I can do that. But I think it's worth putting the practice in and the effort in to do that, because I mean, it's almost impossible to fail when you're putting the work in, you know, like as long as you're putting work in every day to do these little things, like you're visualizing who it is that you want to be and you're putting yourself into their shoes and doing the things daily to be that person and like taking the action steps. I feel like I say that all the time, but messy action is better than no action. Taking the actual action steps and putting work in is what's going to get you there. And if you're doing it, it's almost impossible to fail.
Yeah, and for the people that have that mindset of like, I'm not gonna change, I am who I am, like that's not how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're constantly supposed to be growing and changing. Like you should not be the same person you were 2 years ago.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
constantly re-upping. So anybody that's telling you like people don't change, they're full of shit. And you should be changing. Like there was a story that Ed Milet shared once. A guy walked up to him and he had his 6-year-old son with him. And he said, enjoy the 6-year-old while you can, because soon he'll be 7 and that 6-year-old, you'll never see him again. And Ed looked at the guy and said, when did that stop for you? Being that new version of yourself every year. And the guy just sat there and said, I don't know. Because we really need to be changing every year.
Yeah, you need to be constantly elevating and trying to become a better version of yourself. I had no idea, because you're kind of trained that you go to high school, you go to college, you get a good job, and that's who you are. And you hear all the time, like, this is who I am, that is how I am. And then when I realized that you can constantly be improving, it changed everything. Because like most people don't think that way, and you just don't even, I don't know, you don't even think about it. And then one day it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to stay the same. I can be this person that I think is really cool and that I really look up to and admire. Like I can have all those same characteristics myself. I just have to learn and grow and work towards it and improve.
Yeah, and you know, like if you're feeling stuck, that's the best medicine for feeling stuck. Start growing. Change something about yourself. Start working towards a goal that you thought you'd never be able to do. Like you can't feel stuck when you're actively working towards a goal.
Yes, which is why I talk about small daily progress, like just little tiny improvements every day, because they compound. Jordan Peterson says incremental improvement repeated is virtually unstoppable. And like it took a while for that to sink in, but once you see it, like you're making the small improvements every day, and then you gain momentum, and it changes everything. So I got distracted because I heard the kids running, and I was like, oh, they're gonna run up here and that's gonna ruin 30 minutes of work. Sorry. But yeah, that's the small daily improvements. That's why I talk about that all the time.
Yeah, and then just keep improving every day and getting what you need done, and 5 years from now, you'll look back and maybe you've even achieved more than you thought you would in 5 years.
Yes. I mean, think about where we were 5 years ago. Like we are vastly different people than we were then. Thank God, because like I can't imagine staying in that same state.
Yeah, people vastly overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what can be done in 10.
Yes. Yes. And yes, that's all. Right on. I don't know what I was going to say there. Yeah. All right. So I feel like we should wrap up today's episode. Thank you, Cody. I feel like this has been super valuable. Lots and lots of really good information. Is that the right word? Yeah. So thank you very much for being on the podcast with me today. If you guys think that we should have more of Cody on here, which we might anyways, because it's weird doing a podcast talking to yourself. Let's just be honest. It's easier if I have somebody to actually talk to. Just leave a comment. Let me know. Let me know what you thought about today's episode, and comment and tell me what the most
impactful.
Yes, thank you. What the most impactful tip today was for you. So thank you guys for being here, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.